What did I tell you? Thank you very much, Justice Sachs. Thank you very much. And now it's my great pleasure to invite Ms. Kate Gilmore, who is the Deputy High Commissioner for Human Rights, to make the closing speech of the Moot, and after which we will do the prizes and say goodbye.
Good afternoon. You know, it's an exceptional honour to sit here in solidarity with such Ulysses of the human rights struggle as Justice Albie Sachs. It's humbling, moving, inspiring, sir. Thank you. Thank you for gracing us with a lifetime moment, a moment that we will treasure, for the intimate connection, the bridge you've built between the privilege and opportunity of this place, the gift of your sacrifice alongside comrades, and the exceptional standard that that struggle set for a world wanting for leadership, hungry for hope, and desperate for living existential proof that human rights work, and that with human rights, peace can triumph. And sir, you've exemplified that, and it's a true honour to be in your presence. Dear friends, I'm also deeply moved to have the opportunity to greet you somewhat belatedly on the global day by which we celebrate the extraordinary example of Nelson Mandela, and it's a privilege for the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights to be associated in this commemorative process, so that we never are joined to any diminution of the illumination that he brought to human rights struggle globally through quiet persistence, unrelenting conviction that human rights pave the path to a better world for everybody. I think it's incredibly valuable for us that you've gifted us and granted us access to you over the course of these days. Your presence here, your dynamic participation, the exploration that you have engaged in through this moot court process are exercises, if you like, of the very talents and values that Madiba exemplified and loved so very well. Because if you think of what he represents to us all, he represents both the cruelty of miscarriage of justice, which stole from him and his comrades so much, but also the unrelenting determination to thirst for just justice. And this week, and in many such occasions under this extraordinary privilege of the Human Rights Council chamber, this week you too have had a chance, I guess, to bask in the light of that gift that shines so strongly, illuminating the fundamentals of our common, universal, indivisible human rights. For Mandela was a man who loved peace more. It's a great privilege to thank, therefore, the University of Pretoria, and our thanks for the university and to the university is most earnest. Thank you for organising this impressive competition, for agreeing to put up with Geneva for a number of years in a row now, for coming back to us. It's not only a privilege in terms of the partnership, but the elevation of this exercise in prestige and in size is something we celebrate. 72 students this year from 34 countries. 34 universities in 24 countries across all the world's regions is truly impressive. We're delighted that you came to the Palais des Nations. You know that this place is really a piazza. It's the human rights place for market-based exchange. It's here that power puts on its display its various wares when it concerns how it can and should give account to powerlessness for the exercise of its authority. It's home on occasions such as this to wonderful minds, to great passion, and to some of the very best aspirations, most certainly. But it's also all too often and too readily a place that descends into merely a gathering place for the poorest excuses, for the greatest of cruelties, in the most inexplicable of circumstances. If this place is to elevate itself, to be that which its founding parents envisaged, it needs bright minds, it needs robust integrity, it needs stamina and determination. If the agile solutions relevant to all parts of the world are to be achieved so that this poor, troubled planet can indeed evolve into something more inclusive, more sustainable, more equal, more just. In this place we see both the accumulation and denouement, occasionally, of the great gifts that member states have created over decades. The Human Rights Council itself, a core part of the multilateral machinery, a gathering place where member states are obliged to, and in fact routinely do, consider the world's human rights performance and routinely attempt to give impartial account of both failure and success. The Human Rights Commissioner himself, created by the member states, regrets and sends to you his personal regrets. His independent mandate is a gift of the member states. It means he can and he must speak fearlessly in defence of those who are denied rights and those who are deprived rights. You've met this week wonderful people from treaty bodies, special rapporteurs, the independent experts who allow that courageous expert voice to be grounded in empiricism, buttressed by norms and articulated with great authority. And here I really want to notice and praise, recognise, appreciate Christopher Hines, who served with great distinction for 6 years as Special Rapporteur on extrajudicial summary or arbitrary executions. In addition to his role at the University of Pretoria, he is of course a member still of a member of the machinery, now a member of the Human Rights Committee. It's a further testament to his unrelenting, unswerving commitment. The Universal Periodic Review is another element of this architecture, which is remarkable because now in its third cycle, every member of the United Nations, almost without exception, has presented itself twice for review by its peers. But this place is just a process. It's just a set of mechanisms. It means nothing at all unless, until, and if only the citizens of the world, meaning yourselves, those like you, those whose lives you will touch, those whose lives you're connected to, unless the world of citizenry understands that this is a parliament for their rights. Member states come here not in their own authority, they come here to represent you. And of this precious component, to make this machinery ignite and burn for the purposes by which it is fueled, for that to happen, we must hold this system accountable. So thank you for having the confidence that it was worth your time coming. Thank you for understanding the importance of these global gathering places. Thank you for building bridges when others are building walls. Thank you for understanding the power of words of justice, of kindness, and the danger of the weapons of hate and those who would nourish only intolerance, disengagement, exclusion. Thank you for seeing in each other and in those around us that which we hold and must assert in common, that we are indeed born in dignity and rights. Human rights. Look, human rights, they're just a definition. They're textual accounts of our humanity. Medicine codifies our anatomy, our physiology, our musculature. Human rights define, codify legal value-based propositions that give content to this precious assertion that each of us is born both unique and equal. We know that when those conditions that human rights describe are met and upheld, we all flourish. We live without fear. We act without discrimination. We express ourselves vocally, intimately, intellectually. We can have equal access to food, shelter, justice. We can claim and affirm our identities. We can exercise our participation. We can enjoy our rights to freedom and our rights to freely exercise our rights. Never forget that every single country who joined the United Nations has freely signed on to that system. It is a charter-based system. The United Nations Charter puts human rights ahead of development and before peace and security. They are the founding core values of this United Nations, not a uniform nations, but this United Nations. These principles do not prevent our diversity, they protect it. They do not limit our expression, they ensure it. They do not prevent our access to culture or to belief or to distinction, they guarantee those things. And those rights do set out the terms by which I may exercise my rights without cost to your rights. The opposite of those rights upheld, corruption, bigotry, injustice, tyranny, oppression, these are toxic paving stones. They lay down a path to suffering, deprivation, violence, and ultimately war. Today, contempt for the stranger, hatred for the foreigner, distrust of those who love or worship differently, these are aided by clampdowns on freedom of the press, stepped up surveillance on cyberspace, restriction on public movement, the closure of national borders to people fleeing persecution, the gagging of activists, the deprivation of essential services essential to human dignity. The pounding of these fists grows louder on the doors of our privacy, our mental and physical integrity, and against our freedoms, and they must be resisted. Let me be very clear, we've been down this path before. We know where it leads. It leads to a dead end, to death-ridden ends. Small acts of everyday contempt, inflating into brutal intimidation and discrimination against the other, flourishing into common everyday violence, fueling a persecution that leads to conflict. Friends, be clear, in this struggle there's no north or south, there's no right or left, there's no east or west. There's only the humane and the inhumane. Our rights to not be subjected to hate, to violence, to discrimination, from the courtroom to the boardroom, to the schoolroom, to the bedroom. That's what is hanging in the balance. It is a fallacy that walls and fences, borders and boundaries erode our obligations to each other's rights. Walls within this human family, on this small and distressed planet, in a globalized world, with the largest population ever of the youngest of peoples in all of human history, walls are lies. Walls are untruths. You don't have to like me to respect my rights. I don't have to be like you to uphold your rights. We don't have to approve of each other to defend each other's rights. Rights are not a beauty parade, they're not a reward system, they're not a prize for good behaviour, they are not the dispensation of the generous powerful to the deserving powerless. They are for the best of us and for the worst of us, for each and every one of us to the exclusion of none of us, in the interests of all of us. So they must be defended. Stand up. Please, stand up for rights. Be lawyers who cherish the law. Yes, but cherish equality before the courts and judicial independence. Be doctors who provide dignified access to essential health care regardless of status. Be journalists who love truth, who prize evidence and protect fact. Be innovators and creators, but do it to replace unfairness more rapidly and to dismantle exclusion. Be dissidents who speak truth to power, not for our own elevation, but rather for the elevation of that in which we believe, that which we know to be true. Stand up. We can be artists who disturb, provoke, illuminate, enchant. We can be lovers who seek first each other's full and informed consent. We can be philosophers, but for the purpose of understanding why are these intractable patterns of human hatred and cruelty so difficult to overturn, let us be workers for rights more than consumers of entitlements. Stand up. You know, the American black rights activist and singer Billie Holiday stood up for rights when she also sang against lynching in the US context. She sang, "Southern trees bear strange fruit, blood on the leaves, blood at the root, black bodies swinging in the southern breeze, strange fruit hanging from the poplar trees." Well, on the trees of the world today there flourishes xenophobia and bigotry. Strange fruit indeed. Strange fruit budding on populist trees. Assassinations of human rights defenders and of journalists. Arbitrary detention of dissidents. Removal of activists' passports. Rejection of the refugee in flight. Daily banal cruelty passing unremarked. Come on, we must stand up. We've got to stand up for rights wherever we are. Yep, they do bar the law-loving lawyer, they do hunt down the dissident, they do lock up the truth-telling journalist, and they may again torch every book, char every page of reason, turn every loving and tolerant word to ash. But please know, history tells us, if we stand up together in and for rights, we will be incombustible. Just remember, rights are verbs. Use them or lose them. Thank you.